Hey Crestwood, happy Wednesday, February 28th to you. Not the last day of the month. There is one more in this leap year, and I hope you have plans to use that extra day to take care of yourself, to connect with God, to serve God in some way. How will you use these 24 hours that you have been given? I'll be using them to work, but also to do things that hopefully please God and help me become a better Christian each and every day. That's our goal. How can we get closer to Christ each and every day? And I hope you use tomorrow to do that. But today is Wednesday the 28th, and I'm glad to bring you this devotional. So we're in the middle of the season of Lent. Lent is, it's not the most upbeat celebratory season because it's a season where we're supposed to be looking at ourselves and contemplating our own mortality, contemplating our brokenness. In order that, so we're not supposed to stay there because we do that in order then to recognize our need for a Savior and then to see the joy of what God does for us on Easter Sunday, to recognize what we have done to contribute to all that has happened to separate us from God, and how Jesus dying on the cross is a profound expression of God's love for us. And then what God does on Easter is God defeats sin and death and resurrects Jesus. And so that has so much more meaning for us if we're willing to look at ourselves, look at our brokenness, look how we've separated ourselves from God, and recognize our need for a Savior. How are you doing that this season? One of the ways that I'm doing that, and others in Crestwood are doing that, is we're participating in a book study on Monday nights of a book called The Sum of Us by Heather McGee. And it's a book that looks at how systemic racism in our country and policies with racist foundations have separated us from each other and have not only hurt people of color, but have also hurt white people. The example she uses is a town in Alabama had a swimming pool that by law told them the pool could not be segregated. So rather than integrating the pool, they filled it in with concrete so that no one could swim there. Not blacks, not whites, not anyone. And so that decision not only hurt the black people that they were trying to keep out, it hurt the white kids that just wanted to swim. And so the book is really opening our eyes to the ways that our country has contributed to the separation between whites and people of all colors, and how our policies have contributed to that. So on Monday night, we're reading through the book and talking about it, and our eyes are really being opened to how things like, the search for universal health care, mortgage lending practices, tuition for colleges, how all of those have within them some racial component that affects not just people of color, but also affects white people who are just looking to get ahead and live their lives. And a lot of us have really kind of sat back and went like, wow, I did not realize that this was going on. I did not realize that these things were happening. And we're wrestling with our complicity in those things, because if we're not aware of these things, then how are we supposed to somehow combat them? And yet they seem so big. What are we even supposed to do about it? And that's the space that we're in. We're in the space of wrestling with, we know there's a problem. We recognize how we may be unwittingly contributed to the problem, and yet we don't have a solution for it. But that's, I think, where God steps in. When we're wrestling with something that's so much bigger than we are, I think now about the war in Ukraine, or what's going on in Gaza, or, the drug epidemic, you name it. These problems in our world that are just so much bigger than we can even imagine. We don't even know where to start. That's where I think we open ourselves up to God and say, God, I know there's a problem. I know I may have contributed to this in some way that I'm not even aware of. Show me what I can do to make a difference. And as one of our participants said on Monday night, oftentimes it starts with relationships. It starts with talking with someone and getting their perspective, listening to what they have to say, seeing how you can support them in whatever they're going through. There's a symposium Friday night, I've posted on Facebook if you want to see it, where I'm going to be a part of a panel that's talking about this issue. And I can't wait to have those conversations, because I want to ask a question: what can I do? What do you need? What can I, as a pastor of a pretty much all-white, affluent congregation, do to help me and help my congregation know how we can be working towards a solution for the things that separate us in this country? It's hard. It's a hard conversation, right? It's hard to look at yourself and be like, oh, there is brokenness within me that I need to address. And yet, that's the reality we live in. And that's the meaning of Lent. Yes, there's brokenness, But yes, we have a Savior who has come to set us free from that brokenness, who has come to free us from the power of sin, who has come to accept us for who we are, but then show us a better way. So Crestwood, that's my hope for you. I hope you use this Lent to look at yourself, to recognize and be really honest with the places that you're broken, that maybe you've fallen short, and then to ask God to show you what's the next step, what's one step you can take to begin that healing process and to get closer to God. Sometimes it just starts with one step, and that's my prayer for us. God bless you, Crestwood.